Lieutenant James Doc Walsh regained consciousness to the soft luminescence of bio-integrated medical equipment, and the gentle presence of someone whose competence was immediately evident in the precision of her movements around what appeared to be the most advanced medical facility he'd encountered during 8 years of field medicine. The pain that had been tearing through his chest and abdomen during the border skirmish was now a distant memory, replaced by the kind of deep healing that suggested his injuries had been considerably more serious than battlefield adrenaline had allowed him to process. "Easy, Lieutenant," came a voice that carried the musical accent marking Cathari's speech, though the speaker's tone suggested medical authority that transcended species differences. "You've been unconscious for 3 days. Your injuries required extensive intervention." Doc tried to sit up and immediately understood why the voice had counseled patience. His body felt simultaneously stronger than it had in years and strangely unfamiliar, as if the healing process had involved reconstruction rather than simple repair. The medical bay around him combined human monitoring technology with Cathari bioregenerative systems that seemed to pulse with their own organic rhythm. "Dr. Senna Valkyra," the woman introduced herself, moving into his field of vision with fluid grace that marked her as Cathari despite features that were almost entirely human, except for the pointed ears and the luminescent markings beneath her skin that pulsed with what appeared to be active healing energy. "I am the physician responsible for your recovery." "Dr. Valkyra," Doc replied, his voice coming out stronger than he'd expected. "I'm guessing my injuries were bad enough to require more than human field medicine could handle." "Your injuries were severe enough that human medical technology alone would not have been sufficient to preserve your life," she confirmed, activating displays that showed before and after scans of damage that should have been permanently debilitating. "The shrapnel wounds to your chest and abdomen required bioregenerative intervention that operates through direct biological integration rather than external treatment." Doc examined the medical displays, noting that the healing work represented technology operating on principles his training had never covered. Bioregenerative intervention. That sounds considerably more advanced than anything in human medical protocols. Cathari healing abilities evolved to address injuries that conventional medicine cannot treat, Dr. Valkyra explained, her luminescent markings shifting to patterns that seemed to indicate professional satisfaction mixed with personal concern. "But the healing process requires continued application of regenerative substances that must be administered through direct biological contact rather than standard medication protocols." "Direct biological contact," Doc repeated, noting that the explanation seemed to involve more intimacy than normal medical treatment. "What kind of direct contact?" "Our physiology produces a biofluorescent healing serum that enables advanced tissue regeneration, but application requires complete patient receptivity and biological integration between healer and patient." Dr. Valkyra's expression grew thoughtful as she accessed additional medical displays. "The process transcends normal medical protocols to create healing partnerships that ensure optimal recovery outcomes." Doc felt his comfortable understanding of medical treatment beginning to shift as he realized that his survival had involved procedures that sounded more like intimate connection than routine health care. And this healing serum needs to be applied how exactly? Through direct skin contact, while the patient remains completely still and receptive to the biological integration that enables regenerative healing, she replied, though her tone suggested the explanation was incomplete. "The treatment must continue for several more days to ensure complete tissue regeneration without scarring or functional limitation." "Dr. Valkyra, I appreciate everything you've done to save my life, but I have to ask, is this healing process going to involve procedures that might be misinterpreted as something other than medical treatment?" Her luminescent markings shifted to colors that Doc couldn't interpret, Though her expression suggested the question had touched on complexities she'd been hoping to address gradually. Lieutenant Walsh, Cathari healing involves biological processes that your species might find unfamiliar. The regenerative medicine requires trust and cooperation that transcends normal doctor-patient relationships. But unfamiliar how? The healing milk that enables tissue regeneration must be applied, while you remain completely relaxed and receptive to biological integration, Dr. Velkira said carefully. The process requires that you close your eyes and allow the healing substances to work without resistance or interference from conscious anxiety about the intimacy involved. Doc looked around the medical facility, noting that the biointegrated system seemed to be monitoring not just his vital signs, but also his emotional responses to the conversation about treatment requirements. Doctor Velkira, when you say healing milk, are we talking about a synthesized medication or something that your physiology produces naturally? Something that Cathari healers produce specifically for regenerative treatment of severe injuries, she confirmed, her markings now pulsing with colors that suggested she was carefully evaluating his psychological readiness for information about treatment that would challenge his understanding of medical protocols. The biofluorescent serum carries cellular regeneration factors that can only be effective through direct application to injury sites. And this application requires me to close my eyes and remain receptive to biological integration. The healing process requires complete trust between healer and patient, as the regenerative substances create temporary consciousness sharing that enables the healer to guide tissue regeneration through direct bioneural connection. Dr. Velkira's violet eyes met his with intensity that suggested complete honesty about procedures that extended far beyond conventional medicine. Your survival depends on your willingness to accept healing intimacy that transcends normal medical boundaries. Doc felt the weight of decision settling around him as he realized that his continued recovery required accepting treatment that sounded more like intimate partnership than routine medical care. But his growing trust in Dr. Velkira's obvious competence and genuine concern for his welfare was beginning to outweigh his uncertainty about procedures that challenged everything he'd learned about maintaining professional boundaries during medical treatment. Dr. Velkira, in your professional medical opinion, is this bioregenerative treatment necessary for my complete recovery? In my professional opinion, the treatment is essential not only for your physical recovery, but for preventing complications that could arise from incomplete tissue regeneration. She replied with the authority of someone whose expertise had been earned through years of dealing with injuries that conventional medicine couldn't address. But I should also mention that the treatment carries cultural implications that you may find significant. Cultural implications. The healing process creates bonds between healer and patient that Cathari culture recognizes as having importance beyond medical necessity, Dr. Velkira said quietly, her expression suggesting she was approaching information that would change his understanding of the situation. Your consent to the treatment would activate protocols that affect both our legal standings and our personal relationship in ways that normal medical care does not involve. As monitoring systems around the medical bay began displaying patterns that suggested something important was about to occur, Doc realized that his simple decision about accepting advanced medical treatment was about to evolve into something considerably more complex and potentially more significant than routine healing procedures. The question was whether he trusted Dr. Velkira enough to accept treatment that would apparently affect more than just his physical recovery, and whether his growing attraction to her competence and obvious dedication to healing was influencing his medical decisions in ways that might create complications extending far beyond successful tissue regeneration. The healing milk application required Doc to lie completely still, while Dr. Valkyra prepared what appeared to be the most intimate medical procedure he'd encountered during years of battlefield medicine. The biofluorescent serum she produced seemed to emanate from luminescent glands beneath her skin, creating a substance that glowed with its own internal light, while carrying the kind of biological complexity that made human medical technology look elementary by comparison. The regenerative process requires complete trust and receptivity, Dr. Valkyra explained, her hands beginning to glow with the same bioluminescence as the healing substance. You must close your eyes and allow the biological integration to proceed without resistance or anxiety about the intimacy involved. Close your eyes, human, she said gently, her voice carrying harmonics that seemed designed to induce relaxation and trust despite the obvious unfamiliarity of the treatment. Let the healing milk do its work. The moment Doc complied with her instruction, closing his eyes and allowing himself to become completely receptive to whatever healing process she was about to initiate, the medical facility's monitoring systems activated with displays that suggested something considerably more significant than routine treatment was occurring. The biointegration is successful, Dr. Valkyra said, her voice now carrying different harmonics as the healing milk began creating connections between their nervous systems that enabled her to guide tissue regeneration through direct consciousness sharing. But, Lieutenant, you should understand that your compliance with the healing protocol has activated additional implications. Doc felt the healing process beginning as warmth spread through his chest and abdomen, accompanied by sensations that transcended normal medical treatment to include awareness of Dr. Valkyra's emotions, intentions, and the depth of her commitment to his recovery that went far beyond professional medical care. Additional implications. The monitoring systems have recorded your willing participation in the healing ritual as invoking the sanctuary bond, Dr. Valkyra explained, her consciousness now partially merged with his through the bioregenerative connection. An ancient Cathari healing protocol that creates formal partnerships between healers and patients, whose treatment requires biological integration that transcends normal medical boundaries. Doc kept his eyes closed as instructed, but felt his understanding of the situation shifting as the shared consciousness revealed that Dr. Valkyra's attraction to him was as genuine as his growing feelings for her, and that the healing process was creating emotional connections alongside the biological integration that enabled advanced tissue regeneration. So, by following your medical instructions, I accidentally activated some sort of alien bonding ritual. By trusting me enough to accept healing that requires intimate biological sharing, you activated protocols that recognize the emotional investment necessary for the most advanced forms of regenerative medicine, she corrected, though their shared consciousness revealed that her feelings about the bond activation were considerably more complex than professional medical satisfaction. The sanctuary bond grants you provisional consort status within Cathari cultural hierarchy. Consort status, Doc repeated, feeling the healing milk creating connections that went far beyond tissue repair to include emotional resonance that made him acutely aware of Dr. Valkyra's genuine care for his welfare. What kind of authority does that provide? Authority over medical decisions that affect both our species. Access to bioregenerative research that could revolutionize healing capabilities, and partnership in developing treatment protocols that serve patient welfare rather than corporate medical supply contracts. Dr. Valkyra's consciousness shared information that revealed the scope of authority that the bond provided, but also shared responsibility for protecting advanced healing technology from exploitation by interests that prefer medical care to remain expensive and limited. The biointegration was revealing information that normal medical treatment couldn't access, including Dr. Valkyra's growing realization that Doc's border skirmish injuries had been caused by weapons, specifically designed to create the kind of tissue damage that conventional human medicine couldn't treat, forcing dependence on expensive corporate medical technology rather than enabling healing through interspecies cooperation. "The attack that injured me," Doc said, his enhanced awareness beginning to show him patterns he'd missed during the emergency response. "It wasn't a random border incident, was it? The weapons used against your patrol were designed to create injuries that would require extended treatment using corporate medical technology, rather than enabling quick field recovery," Dr. Valkyra confirmed, her shared consciousness revealing intelligence about systematic targeting of medical personnel. "Your survival through Cathari healing represents exactly the kind of interspecies medical cooperation that corporate interests have been trying to prevent. Because effective healing reduces dependence on expensive corporate medical contracts, and because successful medical cooperation between our species proves that healing technology works better when shared rather than maintained as proprietary corporate assets." Dr. Valkyra's bioluminescent markings shifted to colors that Doc's enhanced awareness could now interpret as controlled anger about the systematic manipulation of medical care for profit. "The sanctuary bond provides legal protection and shared authority that corporate medical interests cannot easily suppress or exploit." Doc felt their shared consciousness revealing the depth of corporate conspiracy designed to prevent effective medical cooperation, while also exposing the genuine attraction and growing emotional connection that had developed between them during the healing process. "Dr. Valkyra, Senna, when you decided to use advanced healing techniques to save my life, you knew it would activate the sanctuary bond. I knew that saving your life using our most advanced healing technology would create connections that transcended normal medical protocols," she replied through their shared consciousness, her emotions revealing complete honesty about feelings that had been developing since she'd first assessed his injuries. "But I also knew that your character and dedication to healing made you someone worthy of the trust and partnership that advanced bioregenerative medicine requires. And the bond can be dissolved if I choose not to accept the implications. The sanctuary bond can be formally rejected within 72 hours if you prefer to return to conventional medical treatment and normal doctor-patient relationships," Dr. Valkyra said quietly, though their shared awareness revealed her hope that he would choose to formalize the partnership. "But rejection would eliminate the legal protection and medical authority that both of us need to survive corporate retaliation for unauthorized sharing of advanced healing technology." Doc opened his eyes for the first time since the healing process began, meeting Dr. Valkyra's violet gaze while feeling the bioregenerative connection settling into permanent integration between their consciousness and emotional awareness. "Senna, when I accepted your healing treatment, I was trusting someone whose medical expertise could save my life when conventional treatment couldn't. And now I'm learning that the most advanced healing happens when trust transcends professional boundaries to create genuine partnership between people whose shared commitment to medical care serves patient welfare rather than corporate profit margins." Doc felt their emotional connection deepening alongside the biological integration that had completed his physical healing. "And I'm learning that the best medical decisions are made by people who care about each other's welfare rather than just following protocols." As alarms began sounding throughout the medical facility, indicating that corporate agents had been monitoring the sanctuary bond activation and were moving to prevent its formalization through whatever means necessary, Doc realized that his simple acceptance of advanced medical treatment had evolved into partnership with someone whose healing abilities and genuine care for his welfare had created the kind of connection that corporate medical interests viewed as a threat to profitable control over healing technology and medical supply contracts. The sanctuary bond's activation triggered immediate responses from monitoring systems throughout both the medical facility and the broader military command structure. As rival factions and corporate interests scrambled to control or eliminate docs, newfound authority over bioregenerative medicine that could revolutionize healing for both species or threaten profitable control over medical technology and supply contracts. Within hours of the bonding, Doc found himself at the center of political maneuvering that made battlefield medicine look like simple first aid procedures. The sanctuary bond cannot be legitimate, Colonel Martinez announced during the Emergency Medical Review Board, his tone carrying barely controlled anger about what he viewed as unauthorized fraternization with alien medical personnel. Lieutenant Walsh lacks the cultural training, medical clearance, and command authority necessary to participate in alien healing rituals that could compromise his military objectivity. The sanctuary bond, Dr. Valkyra replied with patient medical authority, operates under Cathari healing protocols that predate human involvement in this sector. The bioregenerative integration creates legitimate medical partnerships that cannot be invalidated through administrative disapproval of healing techniques that saved Lieutenant Walsh's life. Doc listened to the debate while reviewing intelligence data that his enhanced access was now providing, using the bond connection to trace systematic targeting of medical personnel that extended far beyond simple border conflicts. The corporate conspiracy was more sophisticated than military intelligence had realized, involving coordinated elimination of healers, whose effectiveness interfered with profitable medical supply contracts, and systematic sabotage of interspecies medical cooperation that threatened proprietary control over healing technology. The bioregenerative healing isn't just advanced medical treatment, he reported to Dr. Valkyra during a brief recess in the review proceedings. The bond access is revealing that corporate medical interests have been systematically targeting healers, whose cooperation threatens profitable control over healing technology and medical supply contracts. What kind of targeting? Deliberate exposure to weapons designed to create injuries that conventional medicine can't treat, systematic restriction of healing resources that force dependence on expensive corporate medical technology, and elimination of medical personnel, whose effectiveness demonstrates that healing works better through cooperation than proprietary control. Doc showed her evidence that painted a disturbing picture of manipulation spanning both species' medical systems. The sanctuary bond provides access to intelligence networks that reveal the scope of corporate coordination in preventing effective healing that might reduce profitable medical supply contracts. And my decision to save your life using advanced healing technology made both of us targets for elimination by corporate interests who prefer healing to remain expensive and limited, rather than effective and accessible through interspecies cooperation. Doc felt their shared consciousness revealing information that normal medical clearance couldn't provide. The border skirmish that injured me was specifically designed to create casualties that would require extended corporate medical treatment, rather than enabling effective field healing through cooperation between species. Dr. Valkyra's bioluminescent markings shifted to colors that Doc was learning to recognize as controlled fury mixed with protective determination. The corporate strategy involves ensuring that healing remains proprietary and profitable, rather than effective and universally accessible, while systematically eliminating medical personnel, whose cooperation demonstrates that healing technology works better when shared than when controlled for corporate profit. Doc accessed tactical analysis that revealed planned attacks on medical facilities that demonstrated successful interspecies healing cooperation. The sanctuary bond provides legal protection and medical authority that corporate interests cannot easily suppress through normal administrative channels. The shared consciousness was also revealing that several medical personnel at the facility had been compromised by corporate interests, creating vulnerabilities that would be exploited during planned attacks designed to eliminate evidence of successful healing cooperation and ensure continued dependence on expensive corporate medical technology. The equipment failures in the bioregenerative systems, Doc realized, accessing medical logs that showed patterns of systematic sabotage. They've been deliberate attempts to prevent effective healing that might demonstrate alternatives to corporate medical control. And the recent shortages of healing supplies that forced rationing of regenerative treatments, Dr. Valkyra added, her enhanced medical awareness detecting chemical traces that suggested corporate manipulation of medical supply chains. The shortages were artificially created to ensure that advanced healing remained scarce and expensive, rather than widely available through interspecies cooperation. The intelligence they were gathering through the bond also revealed that Colonel Martinez had been receiving corporate funding to ensure that military medical protocols remained dependent on expensive corporate technology, rather than enabling effective healing through cooperation with Cathari bioregenerative medicine. The false flag medical emergency, Doc said, accessing strategic intelligence through his enhanced authority, is being designed to eliminate this facility while making it appear to be the result of extremist attacks on interspecies medical cooperation. Corporate operatives will target the bioregenerative systems, while evidence is planted to suggest that Cathari extremists attacked their own healing technology to prevent humans from accessing advanced medical treatment, Dr. Valkyra confirmed, her medical sensors detecting preparation for systematic poisoning, designed to trigger medical emergencies that would justify military occupation of healing facilities. The attack serves dual purposes, eliminating cooperative healing capabilities and creating justification for corporate control over medical technology through military occupation. Doc looked around the medical facility, noting that their shared consciousness was revealing which personnel had been compromised by corporate interests and which could be trusted during the planned assault on interspecies medical cooperation. The choice between formalizing the sanctuary bond and rejecting it isn't just about personal relationships or medical protocols, he said, understanding the true stakes for the first time. It's about whether healing technology serves patient welfare or corporate profit margins. The formal sanctuary bond ceremony grants us joint medical authority while providing protection against elimination attempts that target healers who demonstrate alternatives to corporate medical control, Dr. Valkyra said, her bioluminescent markings displaying colors that indicated hope mixed with determination. But the ceremony also makes both of us permanent targets for interests that prefer healing to remain expensive and limited rather than effective and accessible. Doc examined the evidence of systematic medical conspiracy, then looked at the alien woman whose healing abilities and genuine care for patient welfare had transcended species barriers to create partnership that threatened corporate control over medical technology and healing access. Senna, my field medicine training taught me that the most important healing work involves treating injuries that threaten people's survival and quality of life. And your assessment of our current medical threat situation. Our current situation involves corporate interests using systematic sabotage and elimination campaigns to prevent healers from discovering that cooperation serves patient welfare better than the artificial limitations that generate profitable medical supply contracts. Doc accessed the formal bonding protocols that would make their partnership permanent. That seems like exactly the kind of systematic medical threat that requires coordinated healing response from partners whose shared commitment guarantees they'll prioritize patient welfare over corporate medical profits. Are you certain? Formal acceptance makes the sanctuary bond permanent regardless of political consequences or administrative disapproval. Doc looked at the alien woman whose consciousness had become partially merged with his own, revealing not just medical knowledge but genuine partnership in protecting healing capabilities from interests that preferred medical care to serve corporate profits rather than patient welfare. I'm certain that the most important medical work involves healing the systematic damage that corporate interests inflict on healthcare access and healing effectiveness. He reached toward the formal acceptance protocols that would make their bond permanent while granting them joint authority to expose the medical conspiracy. And I'm certain that the best healing partnerships are the ones where both healers choose to accept responsibility for protecting medical care from exploitation by interests that prefer patients to remain dependent on expensive treatment rather than receiving effective healing. As they prepared to formalize the sanctuary bond that would grant them joint authority to counter the corporate medical conspiracy, while making both of them permanent targets for elimination by interests that profited from limited healing access. Doc realized that his simple acceptance of advanced medical treatment had evolved into protecting both species' medical welfare from forces that viewed effective healing as a threat to profitable control over healthcare technology and medical supply contracts. The corporate assault on the medical facility commenced during the formal sanctuary bond ceremony, as infiltrated personnel activated sabotage systems designed to eliminate bioregenerative capabilities, while external operatives released toxins that would create medical emergencies, justifying corporate occupation of healing facilities under the guise of providing emergency medical assistance. The ceremony itself took place in the Bioregenerative Treatment Center, with Doc and Dr. Velkira using their shared consciousness to coordinate defensive operations, while exposing the corporate agents who had been systematically undermining medical cooperation. Corporate infiltrators are releasing synthetic toxins throughout the medical facility, Doc reported through their shared consciousness, as compromised personnel began distributing chemical agents designed to create casualties that would overwhelm conventional medical treatment while making bioregenerative healing appear ineffective. The attack is coordinated to eliminate advanced healing capabilities while creating justification for corporate medical occupation. The toxins are designed to mimic natural biological warfare agents, creating evidence that extremist factions attacked medical facilities to prevent healing cooperation between species. Dr. Velkira confirmed, her enhanced medical senses detecting artificial chemical signatures that revealed corporate manufacture rather than natural biological weapons. But the bioregenerative systems can neutralize the toxins if we complete the sanctuary bond activation. The ceremony proceeded with corporate agents already distributing toxins throughout the facility, their attacks designed to exploit the medical vulnerabilities that systematic sabotage had been creating, while eliminating evidence of successful healing cooperation between species. Doc and Dr. Velkira conducted the formal bonding, while simultaneously coordinating the exposure of corporate conspiracy to medical networks that had been operating under corrupted information about the effectiveness and safety of interspecies healing cooperation. James Walsh, he said as bioneural scanners confirmed his permanent integration with Cathari healing systems. Accept the sanctuary bond with the understanding that healing partnerships serve patient welfare rather than the corporate interests that profit from artificial limitations on medical effectiveness. And I, Senna Velkira, she replied, her consciousness now permanently linked to his through bonding protocols that created unprecedented cooperation between human field medicine and Cathari bioregenerative healing. Confirm the bond and commit to healing cooperation that serves both species' medical advancement rather than the corporate medical control that profits from limited access to effective treatment. The ceremony's completion activated Cathari medical defense protocols that not only neutralized the toxin attack, but also exposed corporate infiltrators throughout the medical network, while broadcasting evidence of the systematic sabotage that had been preventing successful healing cooperation and maintaining artificial dependence on expensive corporate medical technology. The investigation that followed revealed the full scope of corporate conspiracy designed to control medical access while preventing healing cooperation that threatened profitable medical supply contracts. The evidence led to arrests of corporate medical agents, the dissolution of medical profiteering networks, and the establishment of new healing protocols that protected medical cooperation from corporate sabotage, designed to maintain artificial scarcity of effective treatment. 6 months later, Doc found himself working as the chief of interspecies medical cooperation aboard the joint human-Cathari medical vessel Healing, where his field medicine expertise and sanctuary bond authority ensured that bioregenerative healing served both species' medical advancement rather than corporate interests that preferred healing to remain expensive and limited. The healing protocols are operating successfully across all medical facilities, he reported to Dr. Velkira, who now coordinated advanced bioregenerative research while maintaining their shared consciousness that enhanced both their individual capabilities and their understanding of cooperative healing techniques. No corporate infiltration, no systematic sabotage, and definitely no artificial toxin attacks designed to eliminate evidence of effective interspecies medical cooperation. The bioregenerative research is exceeding all projections, Dr. Velkira confirmed, her bioluminescent markings glowing with colors that Doc's enhanced awareness recognized as deep satisfaction mixed with scientific excitement. Healing effectiveness has improved dramatically when human emergency medicine combines with Cathari regenerative techniques. The evening routine they developed involved reviewing medical research while sharing the kind of consciousness-integrated conversation that had become natural through months of bonded partnership. Doc could access Dr. Velkira's bioregenerative insights, while she could benefit from his field medicine understanding of emergency treatment, creating a level of medical cooperation that transcended anything either species had imagined possible. Any regrets about accidentally activating alien bonding protocols through medical compliance during healing treatment? Only, Dr. Velkira said with the smile that had become his favorite aspect of their shared consciousness, that it took a corporate conspiracy to eliminate medical cooperation for both of us to discover that healing works best when it serves patient welfare rather than corporate profit margins. The best medical partnerships, Doc replied, are always the ones that prioritize effective healing over the artificial limitations that corporate interests try to maintain for profitable control over medical access. As they settled into the shared medical research that had become their evening routine, a practice that combined advanced healing techniques with personal bonds that ensured medical technology served patient welfare rather than corporate exploitation, Doc reflected on the journey from battlefield medicine to partnership with someone whose healing abilities complemented his emergency medical training in ways that benefited both species' medical advancement. "You know," he said, feeling their shared consciousness settling into the peaceful synchronization that marked successful integration of human emergency medicine with Cathari bioregenerative healing. "When I accepted your healing treatment, I thought I was just trying to recover from injuries that conventional medicine couldn't address. And now I realize I was participating in the most important medical breakthrough in interspecies cooperation, discovering that healing works best when it serves patient welfare through genuine partnership, rather than the artificial limitations that corporate interests try to maintain for profitable control over medical technology." Doc paused, accessing their shared understanding of how completely their professional and personal partnership had integrated. It's either the most successful accidental medical bonding in therapeutic history, or the most elaborate way anyone's ever discovered they were meant to heal together what neither could treat alone. "Why not both?" Dr. Velkira replied, her consciousness touching his with the intimacy that had become the foundation of their collaboration. "Though I prefer to think of it as the most successful healing protocol ever developed, one where both the patient and the healer discovered that the most important medicine happens when people choose to care about each other's welfare rather than the profitable limitations that corporate interests use to maintain artificial barriers between effective treatment and patient access. The best healing, Doc agreed, is always the healing that serves life rather than the systems that try to profit from limiting access to it. As they reviewed patient files from the expanding network of joint medical facilities that now operated throughout both species' territories, Doc reflected that the healing milk that had initially seemed like an unusually intimate medical procedure had become the foundation for a revolution in how both civilizations approached the fundamental question of whether medical care should serve patient welfare or corporate profits. The bioregenerative connection had taught him that true healing wasn't just about treating individual injuries. It was about creating relationships strong enough to resist the systematic damage that others tried to inflict on the concept of medical care itself. Every patient they treated together was a reminder that the most sophisticated medical technology in the galaxy was meaningless without the trust and emotional investment that made healers willing to prioritize patient welfare over the profitable limitations that corporate interests tried to maintain. "Senna," he said during one of their joint treatment sessions, watching her bioluminescent markings pulse with the concentrated effort of guiding cellular regeneration in a patient whose injuries had been deliberately designed to resist conventional treatment. "Your people's healing abilities aren't just about the biological technology, are they?" "The technology serves the relationship," she replied. Her consciousness merged with his as they coordinated treatment that neither human nor Cathari medicine could have achieved independently. "The bioregeneration works because we choose to invest ourselves in the patient's welfare. Without that emotional commitment, it's just another expensive medical procedure that serves the provider rather than the person who needs healing." As they continued their work together, building medical partnerships that transcended species barriers, while proving that the most effective healing happened when corporate interests weren't allowed to limit access to treatment through artificial scarcity and proprietary control, Doc realized that his compliance with Dr. Valkyra's gentle command to close your eyes had opened his awareness to possibilities for medical care that he'd never imagined when healing was constrained by the artificial limitations that others tried to maintain for their own profit. The sanctuary bond had given him more than access to advanced healing technology. It had given him a partner whose dedication to patient welfare matched his own, and a purpose that transcended the individual treatment encounters to encompass the broader question of whether healing would serve those who needed it or those who profited from controlling access to it.